Quality control. Quality control is a process through which a company makes sure that its product or service has been made with a certain set standard and requirement. Why is there a need for quality control? Any product or service defines and speaks for the company or brand that creates it. This is exactly why there is a need for perfection for a product, from the manufacturing phase to the outcome phase. In order to achieve that perfect quality, every organization should adopt a quality control plan and strategy. This is crucial and requires continuous reviewing and efforts. After all, the quality of the product ultimately decides its place in the market in the long run. Examples of quality control in the food sector include monitoring ingredient standards, verifying supplier lists, and making sure that the manufacturing facility is hygienic. How is it done? Companies typically follow a set procedure to ensure quality control, including setting testing standards. To implement a quality control program, a company is required to first decide what standards they want to meet. Next, they're required to determine the extent of the actions they want to take. For example, the QC team is required to decide how many samples would be taken for testing, how the selection of samples would take place, and what exactly the testing procedure would be. Testing raw materials and various stages. Quality control usually involves testing every step of a company's manufacturing process. QC employees may begin by testing the raw materials that are used to create a product and then testing at various stages within the manufacturing process to identify where any problems are occurring. Correcting problems. Employees may be required to correct problems to prevent them from happening again in the future. The exact quality control that a company uses is dependent on the industry and product. For example, in food manufacturing, the company QC team performs microbiological testing to ensure that the completed product does not make consumers sick. They may also perform quality control of the food in its packaging to ensure that it does not perish before a given expiry date. In the car manufacturing industry, it's evident that quality control may focus on collision and skid tests, data collection, and decisions. After problems are identified, real world data would be collected and the reports would be delivered to management. Finally, corrective action is required to be taken. For example, the company may decide to repair any remaining defective production units or eliminate them altogether to invest in new technology. If too many of the products are defective, a company is required to establish a plan for improving the production process. If the problem is with the supplies being used, the company is required to try to purchase better quality raw materials. Finally, the quality control method is required to be ongoing to monitor for new signs of problems. When doing quality control, you often need to go through these phases. Preparatory phase. During the preparatory phase, you need to review the tasks you need to do, the inspection and testing requirements you need to meet, and the safety precautions with the workers who will perform the work. Initial phase. By the time you finish the preparatory phase, you would have verified that all requirements have been met by whoever is doing the work. Things you would usually look at in this stage would be safety issues, sampling infection, inspection requirements, etc. The initial phase is when you actually do quality control testing. Follow up phase. Finally, once you've completed the initial phase, you'll want to verify that the work has been successfully completed. This may include regular monitoring of all work in progress and checking that the requirements are being met. What is the difference between QA and QC? Quality assurance QA, just like quality control QC, is another aspect of quality management. In other words, they are closely related, although they are defined differently. What is quality assurance? Quality assurance is a part of quality management that focuses on assuring internal and external stakeholders or providing them with the confidence that quality requirements will be fulfilled. Quality assurance QA asks, how is the process performed, a service offered, or a product made? What is quality control? On the other hand, quality control is the part of quality management that focuses on actually fulfilling quality requirements. QC asks, what do I need to do to ensure that my process, service, and product meet high quality standards? To effectively conduct quality control checks, organizations can use one or more of the following quality control tools. First is checklist. Arguably the most basic tool in the quality control arsenal, a checklist allows you to see everything you need to ensure that your product or service quality is acceptable. Cause and effect diagram. Also, called a fishbone diagram, the cause and effect diagram is a great visual aid to identify what causes a specific problem. Control chart. Find out how processes historically change using a control chart, a graph which will help you see how a process changes over time. It's a great way to find and resolve problems as they happen, predict a range of outcomes, and analyze variations. Taguchi method. The Taguchi method is an engineering approach that emphasizes product design and product development in reducing how often defects and failures occurred in the production chain. If emphasis design over the manufacturing process and tries to take a preemptive approach in eliminating production variances. Stratification. Stratification is a great tool when you want to wade through too much information. Stratification separates data so you can identify patterns and specific problem areas. Pareto chart. Another excellent way to look at cause and effect. This type of bar chart provides a visual analysis of the problems and causes. The Pareto chart allows you to focus on your most important issues. Histogram. The most commonly used graph to show frequency distributions, the histogram uses bars to identify frequency distributions that indicate how often substandard products or services are created. Scatter diagram. The scatter diagram is also called a scatter plot or XY graph. It allows you to identify relationships between two variables by plotting information along each axis. So, the conclusion is that QC, quality control, is an important aspect in producing products or services in order to ensure quality in accordance with company standards so that it can meet consumer expectations. The difference between QC and QA, that is quality control and quality assurance, lies in their focus.